guest, Katherine Akbar, is just someone we've been chasing for a couple of months, trying to get her on the show, and finally we got her in, and so I'm so glad. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeff. Glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about Your Edge for Success.
Well, Your Edge for Success was founded 8 years ago in Chicago, and I moved it to DC about 4 years ago. And when we first started, we were actually a tutoring company. And after I moved to DC and we had already started to serve some writing clients, the writing business started to get more interest, particularly their resumes. And I'd also decided that I really had an ambition to do more writing myself and eventually to become famous for a best-selling book or something like that. So I thought, why not throw my lot fully in with the writing side?
So tell us a little bit about why people are calling you the resume queen.
Sure. Well, I certainly didn't set out to become the resume queen, but that's what people in this market are really interested in. We're right in the middle of the smartest group of people that the country could possibly attract. People come here from all over because they're ambitious, they're highly educated, and so people are having the funds to invest in their career and really motivated to get to the next level. So most of the folks who come to us for resumes are not unemployed.
Right.
I first imagined when I entered this business that they would be unemployed people, but that's not the case at all. Most of our clients are very successful. They're mid to senior level executives, and now they want to get to the next point.
So what are some of the common mistakes that they make?
Well, I would say a lot of people are very anxious about their job searches. And so, you know, the biggest thing is to talk to all your friends and associates, and everybody's got their opinion. And then you're looking at your resume with 6 different opinions, just your head exploding and not knowing what to do. Or you're at home and you're applying to all the job boards and you're not getting any responses, and you're like, I've applied to 20 jobs in the past week. How come nobody's calling me? So both of these are manifestations of anxiety that are unhelpful, and really it's better to take a step back and say, what is it that you really want? What kind of job is going to have you bounding out of bed in the morning and saying, yeah, I got this job that I love, and this is where I wanted to be, and I got myself here. So step 1 is find out what you really want to do.
Right.
And then step 2 is go for it with a single-minded focus. And that means not only submitting your resume to jobs that are open on the job board, but making a list of the organizations that you would love to work for, and then figuring out how you can work your way in at each one of those.
So you must have some success stories. Share a couple with me.
Sure, I have many. And one of my favorites is from a nurse anesthetist named Heather, who said that when she went to her interview, the guy said to her, you know, you look so good on paper, this interview is really just a formality.
Wow.
And how great is that, right?
Yeah.
Because so many people hate the interview. So
Yeah, it's like, you got the job now, let's talk.
I can't promise that result for everybody, but that was her case. And then we also had a client that I'll call Tamara. And Tamara came to us saying, I want to get a job in security for the federal government. And I said, okay. Took a look at her resume, and she had some jobs in the federal government where she was doing contract review. She was an attorney, and she also had done a human rights internship. And I said to her, okay, I see you're telling me you want to do security, and I'm seeing human rights, but these are kind of opposites.
Yeah.
You know, usually the folks who are interested in human rights are kind of on the left. People who prioritize security are usually more on the right. Who are you? And she said, well, you know, I just want to make a contribution to my country since 9/11. And I said, okay, great, but there's more than one way to do that, so which way fits you? And she said, well, the other thing is Condoleezza Rice is from my neighborhood, and I always viewed her as the epitome of success as a black woman. And I said, well, she's successful, yes, but are you Condoleezza Rice? Because I'm not Condoleezza Rice. Even if I were a black woman, I wouldn't be Condoleezza Rice, because I'm, you know, much more liberal than that. So she said, well, I don't know. I don't know. And then the Freddie Gray incident happened in Baltimore, and she went and volunteered as a lawyer working with the demonstrators. And she came back knowing that Tamara was not Condoleezza Rice. And she ended up quitting the federal job that she hated, and she got a job working with the DC Human Rights Commission that she absolutely loves.
Wow. Now, give us a tip. Just give us a hint of something of what can you do to perk up a resume so that somebody will pick up the phone and call you?
Sure. Well, for the resume, the most important thing is quantified accomplishments. So most people put on the resume what they did, just the what. But the what is not very inspiring. It's the why that's inspiring. So if you can put, I did this, and then the impact, the output to the employer, the benefit to the employer, that's what's going to get the employer's attention. And then the other thing to remember is that half of the employers are really interested in the resume, but the other half of employers are more interested in the cover letter. So you also have to have a great cover letter, and most people put a lot of attention on their resume, they work at it, and they submit a horrible cover letter. So that also is important for a lot of folks.
Yeah, that kind of tees up the resume, doesn't it?
Yeah, and actually, you know, your resume is going to be, for the most part, the same for every employer, although I would recommend making some tweaks, especially to the first part. But the cover letter definitely has to be tailored. If you send the same cover letter to every employer, it's obvious to the employer, and it's a turnoff because they feel like they're not that interested in the job or they didn't read it. And I am an employer, which helps me with advising my clients on how to appeal to employers, because I know my reaction when I get a Dear Hiring Manager cover letter that's clearly not about the kind of work I have to offer. It does turn me off.
All right, so let's say you got some help and with somebody like yourself and tweaked your resume and that's ready to go. Tell us about the guerrilla job hunter. That just intrigued me. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so guerrilla warfare is kind of irregular warfare. And of course, this is a nonviolent thing, applying for a job, but we like the spicy language. So what we mean by guerrilla job hunter is you're not going to just follow the rules. You're not going to always go straight through HR. You're going to try to find some different ways of going about getting what you want. So for example, I mentioned earlier making that list of organizations that you'd love to work for. Well, how can you make contacts at those organizations? Maybe you can, reach out to your friends. Instead of sending your friends your resume and saying, I'm looking for a job, let me know if you know any openings, which when I get one of those emails, I feel kind of like, I don't know of any openings. I feel like I wish I could help, but better to say, do you have any contacts at any of these organizations that you could introduce me to? Or specifically that
one, yeah, the one you want to go to.
Exactly. So then I could say, sure, I know so-and-so. And then you invite that person for lunch or coffee, for example, and you ask really smart questions. The smart questions are going to make you look like the kind of person who has the energy and insight to be an asset to that organization. And so you're not going to ask that person to help you get a job, but that person is going to think of you if there is an opening that's appropriate. And you can also ask that person for advice. Who else should I be speaking to? What other organizations might be looking for somebody like me?
Something else that I came across with you that really intrigued me is Interview Aikido.
Yes.
What in the world is that all about?
Okay, well, the idea here is that in Aikido, you use the energy of your opponent coming toward you to shift and take control of the situation.
Right.
So, of course, again, the employer is not your enemy. We want to make it win-win. But just using the idea of you don't have to be sitting there getting grilled. You don't have to be disempowered because the employer has power. Instead, with Interview Aikido, you pull your level up so that you guys are an equal power level. And you don't sit there and let yourself be grilled, but you have a round conversation where the employer asks you a question, you answer that question, and then you jump another question onto it in a way that will be appropriate, because we teach you how to ask for permission to make sure that that's cool. And that way you guys are having a flowing conversation about the kind of work that interests you both. And by asking those smart questions about what the employer is looking for, you're also going to be in a much better position to sell yourself. Because now, instead of stabbing in the dark, hoping you say what they want to hear, you're actually aiming at a target that you can clearly see.
Well, that makes sense. So let's suppose you got your resume and your cover letter together and you're ready to go. What advice would you give someone who's in that position looking?
Well, I would say, do go ahead and apply for the jobs on the job boards. Make sure that every cover letter is tailored, though. Don't bother with this, 20 jobs a week. If you only have time to apply for 2 jobs a week and do a good job at it, then that's fine. And don't neglect the networking. Definitely reach out to folks that you may already know in your field. Like former bosses are a great one to contact, because if you did a good job for them, they're going to want to help you and they're going to know your strengths. So do the networking and do targeted applications. And then if they feel like they would like to get that extra edge to get a new job faster and at 15 to 20% higher pay, we're also very happy to help.
How do you go about finding clients, or how do they find you?
Yeah, well, we don't have to find clients. They are coming to us, especially since the election. There's been a significant increase in interest. But we are the top-rated company in the area for both writing services and career counseling on Yelp. And so we get a ton of inquiries through Yelp. Sometimes people go straight to Yelp, and sometimes they find us through Google, which takes them to Yelp. We're also on Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. And of course, we get referrals from clients and clients who come back to us.
All right. I got to ask you for one or two more tips for people that are in this situation. What advice would you share with them that's really important?
Well, I think, like I mentioned before about the anxiety, the first thing is to take a deep breath and to visualize success. You know, you have to trust the universe. That the perfect job is out there for you. If you don't believe that the perfect job is out there for you, you'll be right.
Find it.
You'll be right, you know. But I truly believe, and this is how I found my husband after years of struggling to find the right partner, you have to believe that the perfect situation is there for you and that you can have it, and that all you have to do is make yourself spiritually available to connect to it. So there is that bigger element of the mindset that you're in. And then the technique falls into that. But I do sometimes see folks who are pursuing the right techniques. They're trying to get their resume done and everything, but there's so much static from their anxiety that they're getting in their own way. So it's very important that you trust the universe, that you trust your partner if you choose a good resume writing company, for example. And that you know that somebody is out there probably right now just praying, you know, dear God, please send me the right person for this position.
Yeah.
And you can be the answer to that person's problems as well as their being the answer to what you want.
All right, so if you're out there and you're looking for a job, get help. And this is great. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
And we'll be right back.